Yes, my name is BJ Mars, which stands for Barbara Joe. I like to go by BJ. But I've been in and out of the institutions for 35 years. And my first act in being mentally ill at 15 years old was institutionalized in Georgia Mental Health Institute. And I was a day patient first, then I become an inpatient at 17 and was there through 18. And that was my first time when they needed to find me somewhere to stay. I had a life of abuse, mental, emotional, physical, and everything. And I come from a very dysfunctional family, and they wanted to find somewhere for me to stay and learn a trade and become employable. And at 18 years old, they shipped me to Milledgeville, Georgia at Central State to a building called Yarborough Building. And there, you didn't do much, you just existed. You really didn't, it was nothing for me to do to get better. And I stayed in there about 6 months because I didn't want to stay there anymore. And when I was able to go home for the weekend, I packed up everything I owned and said I wasn't coming back. And I went home, and I didn't really have anywhere to stay. But after that, I moved around pillar to post here and there. And at 20 years old, I decided that I don't want to live with anyone. I don't want to live with my family. I was tired of going from pillar to post. And I got it on my own at 20 years old. But my first really owned apartment or living place for myself was a room I rented. And I was so glad and thankful to myself that I decided that I was not going to be involved with living here and there and living with my family when it didn't work out. And I worked at various jobs, which was, not very successful, but I was determined and dedicated to help myself, to get myself better. And it took a long, long road to get where I am now. And
so. You in institutions again after that?
Yes. I became institutionalized again at the age of 23. And I was living on my own in an apartment and paying my own rent and everything. And then I just, had to go in for a rest. I was very stressed out. And no one, from the time I was 15 years old up until 1986, no one ever really diagnosed my condition. And I had been in mostly Georgia Regional, and I had psychiatrists and stuff. I was just angry most of the time. I was angry and being used, abused, misunderstood, not having understanding for people to understand me. And he would put a 10-13 on me. I was just angry most of the time because, I tried to commit suicide when I was 15 years old. And then again at 17, and I really almost died. I was hooked up to the resuscitator tube down my throat, and I attempted on my life so many times and was not successful. And I've always believed in the Lord. And even though it seemed like he was so far away for so many years, but I know out of all that I had tried to hurt myself, that I would always come out alive. And I knew I was here for a reason, but I didn't know what at the time, but I was here for a reason. And I said to myself, I was not going to commit suicide, try to attempt to kill myself anymore. And I went like that for several years. But then when I was I hadn't been in an institution or anything for years. Then when in 1985, I was just really, really, really mentally ill and going through so much. And they put me in a hospital called Psychiatric Institute of Atlanta that was on Juniper Street, downtown Atlanta. And in there, I began to move out of myself. But in 1986, I went back in, and the doctor there, Dr. Bloodworth, he came into my room. I was very sick. I was catatonic most of the time, dark, and I'm seeing dark, and maybe someone's face in the middle of that dark. Then I would blink out, and I was catatonic most of the time. But I was getting better when I was in there the second time, and he came in and asked me, could he try lithium on me? And I okayed it. And at that time, they diagnosed me at PIA. They diagnosed me as manic depressive bipolar. And I kind of understood myself. Most of my life, I was in and out. Like most of the time, I was up. I could be laughing and talking and everything. And another time, I'm so down and depressed. It was like two personalities. And they diagnosed it, and they started with the lithium. And I took the lithium, for a long, long time. It really was, I was in and out again. The lithium was not working for me. And then in 1994, I moved in, after being homeless for a year from, April or May of 2003. No, what's that? No, 1993. I was institutionalized there when I was in 1993. And then I began to realize that I needed to straighten up and get better. And I started, taking my medicine on time and everything. And then in 1994, after not being hospitalized for a long time, I got kind of depressed again. So I sought mental health, and I ended up at Winway Mental Health on Winway there in Decatur. And those people, because I was determined to get better, because I had tried to work, go to school, and I never gave up. I never, just gave up. I kept on trying. I don't give up easy, because I'm a survivor. First of all, I'm a survivor. Out of all that I had been through, I'm a survivor. And there are those people, the people that, when mental health started me, started me, Dr. Song there, and she was very nice doctor. She was very informative, and she was caring. And I had therapists that I would talk to, and she started me off with Zyprexa, a new medicine that just had came out, and this was 19.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Jay. Don't you think it's people that makes the difference, though, ultimately?
Yes, because that's what I was getting at with Winway Mental Health. It's people that cared enough